Hello, today we'll be presenting about the juvenile Manny. In our group is Grace, Lindsay, Tommy, and my name is Bethany.
Hey everyone, this is Grace. I'll be talking about our juvenile, Manny. Manny was first involved in the juvenile justice system at 14 years old when he pled guilty of rape. Then the case that was featured in this documentary occurred in 1999 when at age 17 he was arrested for his second violent felony. He was accused of 4 counts of attempted murder. Him and 2 gang members attacked a family, beating and stabbing them, including 4 men and a pregnant woman. He was only accused of assaulting the 4 men. The district attorney petitioned to try him as an adult, as this was his second violent felony. In his fitness hearing, he was found unfit for the final criteria, gravity of the situation. He did not seem to understand the seriousness of the crime and his part in it. During this time, he did have a son who was born, and he seemed to want to change and get himself together to be there for his son, as his father was not there for him. But in summer 2000, he pled guilty to 7 counts of assault with a deadly weapon in the adult court. Then in January 2001, he was sentenced to 9 years in prison. At this point, he didn't have much hope for his future, as that was his second violent felony, and a 3rd felony would result in life in prison.
Several factors have influenced Manny and his history of delinquency. One such factor is the fact that he is a male, and we generally see that the male population has a greater rate of delinquency than the female population. In addition to that, he grew up without a father at home, so it was just him and his single mother, which means that she didn't have as much time to devote to him. She was often busy working, and he grew up without a strong male role model. In addition to that, he's currently a teen parent. He has a son, and he has said that he would do anything for his son, his mom, or his girl, regardless of if that is a good decision or not. So essentially he was saying he would fight someone if anyone attacked his pride or those people previously involved. So he would resort to violence, and he would rather go to jail than have someone talk badly about them. Additionally, Manny's in a gang, and this can partially be attributed to the fact that he may be lacking a sense of community apart from the gang, especially due to the fact that his dad is not in his life and his mom's a single mother. So he's joined this gang, and he's probably found a sense of community there and older men he can look up to, which is something that he previously lacked, obviously with just his mom in the home. He also said that he thinks of himself as a good guy or a normal guy who's just from a different neighborhood than other people, and this suggests, in addition to the presence of the gang, that his neighborhood is not the best, and that it's not necessarily the safest place to grow up or the most secure. And that has also influenced him in the fact that he's committed past crimes. So he said that he was convicted at rape at the age of 14 and then attempted murder at the age of 17, both of which are pretty big crimes. And the attempt at murder was because of gang activity. He also lacks education, but his professors and the director of the Juvenile Detention Center say that he is hungry for knowledge and he has a lot of street smarts, and he's a good student, and they see a lot of promise in him. He just has to work at it. So he may not have had the best education in the past, but they think that Manny can really improve and he can learn a lot. But they did say that they think he would do well with a strong mentor, especially a male role model in his life, since his father was not around. And he is dealing with a lot due to his past delinquency and also the fact that he's now a teen father.
The social bond theory created by Travis Hirschi states that people commit crimes due to weakened bonds. The social bond theory includes 4 aspects: attachment, commitment, belief, and involvement. Manny had 2 emotional attachments in his life: the Hispanic Nortino gang and later his son. His commitments were to again the gang and then to his son. But his beliefs that were taught by the gang influenced his commitments. The core belief that this gang taught him was pride over anything. For example, he says, if someone hits you, you gotta defend yourself. By just sitting there and turning the other cheek, you don't stick up for yourself. You just get rolled on. You don't have no self-pride for yourself. In the documentary, he says that he sees himself getting a 3rd strike in order to keep his pride. Also, the morals of the gang's atmosphere taught him that sometimes violence was unavoidable in order to prove himself to his peers. The only group he was involved in was his gang and then later the rehabilitation in prison, which he was a great student in. The counselor mentioned that if he would have had a consistent parental figure, he would be in a much better place. The one time Manny wanted to do better and have a better life was when he had his son, but that was the only commitment he had that he viewed as a priority. This attachment gave him the drive to make better choices. But I think because a life making wise choices was never modeled for him, it was hard for him to see it as a possibility.
So in a case like Manny's, where there's a petition to send him to adult court because of the seriousness of his offense, he would have to be found unfit of 5 criteria of the juvenile court system under California law. The first of these is the degree of criminal sophistication, so how much planning went into the crime, whether the juvenile can be rehabilitated, so in his current state, can he be rehabilitated in the future, his delinquent history, which is just his offenses in the past and how serious those were, the success of previous rehab attempts, that's kind of self-explanatory, but basically just how well he's responded to previous rehab attempts, and the gravity of the offense, which is just how serious it was overall. Manny was actually found to be fit by an impartial probation officer in 4 of the criteria. The last one he was found unfit in, and that was the gravity of the offense. Because he assaulted a family and the family had a pregnant woman within the family unit, it was seen as an egregious crime, which it is. And the judge agreed with the probation officer's choice, despite evidence that Manny was not actually the one to strike or hit the pregnant woman. What's interesting about this is, in the case, that was the main thing being debated and the main thing being looked at is, oh, well, Manny assaulted a pregnant woman. Manny attacked her, which he was for sure an accomplice. He was with the group of people that jumped the family, and he did assault members of the family, and that's a serious offense in and of itself, but he was not actually the one to strike the pregnant woman. He was not the one to touch her. That was actually one of the other people, according to the evidence presented. And it's interesting to me that he was found to be unfit because of this one circumstance that he was indirectly responsible for, but he had no physical part in actually hitting the woman. So I think the judge reacted a little bit emotionally, if I'm being honest. He for sure should not have been doing what he was doing in the first place. It's a criminal offense. He might have come out with the same result in the end anyway, but she was leaning very heavily on the fact that he assaulted a pregnant woman despite evidence to the contrary.
Hi, This is Grace, and I'm going to be discussing our Supreme Court case, Kent v. the United States. Morris Kent, at age 16 in the 1960s, committed several serious crimes. He was immediately waived into the adult court out of the juvenile system, despite objections from his attorney and counsel. The proper procedure and investigation was not completed prior to his being waived into adult court. His lawyer sought to reverse the decision, first in the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, but they affirmed the conviction and found the juvenile court's waiver to be valid. It was then moved all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, where they reversed the decision and held that due process and basic fairness must be satisfied by completing a full investigation before deciding to waive a juvenile to adult court. The precedent that was set with this Supreme Court case required that Manny have a full investigation and fitness hearing that followed due process before he could be transferred to the adult court. And on the 5 requirements to stay in juvenile court, he was found unfit on one of the requirements. And Manny was transferred to adult court to be tried and to carry his sentence.